Hello, CGB 6th graders. I hope you are all doing great. I am a little behind on this virtual lesson. No, I am way behind on this virtual lesson, but hopefully you still get something out of it. I have been informed that you just read Trumpet of the Swans by E.B. White. Well, lucky for you, the past few years I have taken a very strong interest in swans. Here's a little backstory for you on the reason why we became so intrigued by these massive creatures. I didn't even know that you could hunt these guys until I saw a few friends on Facebook post pictures, and when I say this, I am not kidding. These birds are as tall as they are. Here's a few pictures for your viewing. This is what caught my attention. I wanted to hold up these huge, massive dinosaurs because how cool would that be? Harvesting a bird that is the same size as me? Anyways, 3 or 4 years ago, I drew my first tundra swan tag for the South Dakota waterfowl hunting season. I know what you might be thinking. This is probably one of the most graceful and beautiful birds that are in our area. Why in the heck would you want to hunt them? I agree. They are amazing birds, and I really didn't even realize truly how amazing they were until our first hunting excursion experience seeing them up close and personal. I'll show you a video of how our first attempt at harvesting our swans went, followed by the outcome. Here it is. Maybe my bad. Maybe they'll come back. Guys, 10 hours of watching these birds, and not a single one did anything mean to any other bird. They weren't annoying other than the fact that they wouldn't fly for us. They just hung out and sang and cooed back and forth. Once an hour or so, they'd get up and stretch their wings. They'd maybe fly up in a circle, then they'd go right back down. But other than that, they were just such beautiful, chill birds. If you've ever watched geese, you know that they kind of get mean and they try to fight each other and just yell at each other for no good reason. These birds do not do that. They just sit there and look pretty. The definition of conservation is the preservation, protection, and restoration of the natural environment and wildlife. The reason we have tundra swan tags here in South Dakota is to help keep their numbers in check. If we have too many of a single species, what could happen to them? They could get diseases. There could be too much competition for food. Think back to when you went through an ecology unit and ecosystems in science class. I teach ecology at Lake Area Tech in Watertown, so this topic is very near and dear to my heart. Ecology is the study of how things work together to survive. When you went through this unit in science, you probably learned about energy flow and trophic levels. All organisms rely on other organisms for energy. An energy pyramid shows the direction that energy flows through the trophic levels. You maybe learned about symbiosis, or the relationships between different species. These relationships are super important because when one relationship of a species is out of balance, the entire ecosystem is going to be out of balance. Another term I need you to dust off from the ecology unit is carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the number of organisms in a particular species that can live in that area. Resources such as food and space of each of these particular areas are limited. So that limits the number of organisms that can live or survive there. So in order to help maintain a healthy population for this area's carrying capacity, we have hunting seasons, especially on these beautiful birds, as well as other species that can be harvested. There's this really complex algorithm that helps the wildlife biologists come up with the perfect amount of tags and bag limits for other species like ducks, geese, and fish. I could sit and stare at these phenomenal birds all day, but my ultimate goal is to fill my tag and harvest one. And by doing this, I'm doing my part in conservation to help keep our number of the swans in a healthy area. So I'll continue to try to fill my tag because that's what sportsmen and women do. In the event that we do actually ever harvest a tundra swan, we would eat it just like the rest of our waterfowl that we hunt, so it definitely wouldn't be wasted. Okay, I'm here to talk about trumpeter swans, so let's do that. There is quite a bit of a difference between a trumpeter swan and a tundra swan, but you have to know what you're looking at. My fiance is a conservation officer, a game warden for our county, and I also work for the Game Fish and Parks as well. So through our job, we get to see a lot of cool things and learn from experiences, some of which are our own, and sometimes we have to learn experiences through other people. However, we see and learn a lot of cool things, and sometimes we see people learning the hard way. This year we saw several harvested trumpeter swans instead of tundra swans. It was certainly an honest mistake on their part, but it is really important to know what you're looking for in situations like this. This was the first year in a pretty long time we've actually had trumpeter swans in our area. We've been watching them on a slough pretty closely, and we're efficient in telling the difference between a trumpeter and a tundra. Now, every time that I see a picture of a swan harvested, the first thing I do is study it closely. Here's a picture of the two swans right next to each other. Can you figure out which one is a trumpeter and which one is a tundra? By the end of the video, you're going to be able to do that. Trumpeter swans are the larger of the two species by about 7 inches. Trumpeters also do not have a yellow spot next to their bill. Trumpeters do. Trumpeters have a red outline on their lower mandible or their lower bottom jaw. You can also see the difference in the two birds by looking at the shape of their head and bill. Trumpeters have a narrower head and a longer bill, while tundras have a rounder head and a shorter bill. Trumpeters have a wingspan of up to 8 feet, and a tundra's wingspan is around 7 feet. Though they look similar, especially out in the field, they have enough differences when you're out looking to know what you need to look for. Swans live on or near the water, and they migrate in the fall. In the video that you watched at the beginning when I kicked all those swans off the water, that was a big group that was migrating. There was around 80 of them sitting on the water before I walked up and ruined it. If you ever get the opportunity to watch them again, I totally suggest it. You're going to learn so much and you're going to gain a great appreciation for this giant, majestic bird. When looking at them, you're going to notice that some of the younger ones are going to have gray plumage or fur on the top of their head and a pink bill. The adults are going to be all white with a black bill. They can live up to 25 years in the wild, and the record is 33 years old in captivity. Throughout the world, there are 5 different species of swans. There are 3 in the northern hemisphere that are white, and there are 2 in the southern hemisphere that are black. Swans are among the larger of the flying birds, and the trumpeter holds the record for the largest waterfall. It can be 5.5 feet tall, 5.5 feet long, 4 feet tall, and 35 pounds, right in that area, which is closely followed in second place by the tundra swan. Now, does it make more sense why I wanted to hold one of these monsters up? In a second, I'm going to play the trumpeter call, and it can be heard from over a half-mile away. This is because he has an extra long windpipe. The trachea has a loop in it like a trumpet does, and it is almost 3 feet long from the lungs to the bill. Okay, here's the call. How cool is it to have these creatures in our area? Speaking of our area, Minnesota has done some incredible work with the Trumpeter Swan Restoration Project. Trumpeter swans originally covered a whole lot of North America, from Illinois northwest to Alaska. Throughout the 1700s and 1800s, swans were hunted for their meat, skins, and feathers. European fur trappers and settlers hunted swans for their skins and down. They'd cut them up and make them into jackets. And since they had long feathers, they also made a popular riding quill. At the same time, trumpeter swans' habitat was being destroyed by settlers that moved across North America. By the 1800s, swans disappeared from Minnesota. By the 1930s, less than 70 trumpeter swans remained in the lower 48 states. And these swans resided in the remote Red Rock Lakes area in southwestern Montana. Trumpeter swans had disappeared from American landscape so early in history that their memory was relegated mainly to museums, place names like Swan Lake, history books, and books like what you just read, Trumpet of the Swan. Through my research, I saw a quote that said, "It appeared that trumpeter swans had a past, but no future." Ouch. That kind of hurts the heart a little bit, doesn't it? Good thing somebody had a plan to reintroduce these swans into Minnesota. The original goal was to establish a flock of 100 swans in 15 breeding pairs. 6 years ago, in 2015, it was recorded in a survey that there were 270 swans in this original area and 56 nesting pairs. They crushed that goal. In fact, today's estimates show about 46,225 swans reside in North America. Call that a successful project. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not read Trumpet of the Swan, but I did read a summary, and one thing that I really liked was how the book tied Red Rock Lakes into the setting. In the 1930s, Red Rock Lakes National Wildlife Refuge was established, and of course, it's best known for the primary location for the efforts in saving trumpeter swans from extinction. The refuge was established by President Franklin D. Roosevelt through an executive order which stated that it would be served as a refuge and breeding ground for wild animals. The Fish and Wildlife Service owns 51,286 acres, and through management conservation easements, they manage 23,806 acres. So that means about 80,000 acres of this valley are protected, making it the least developed valley in the state. I cannot imagine the beauty and the diversity of this place. I have always considered Montana to be my second home. I make several trips out there a year, usually. And thanks to doing research for this video, I now have added Red Rock Lake Refuge to my list of places to visit. I'm a little surprised I haven't been there yet. I know there's so much more information about these incredible birds and the efforts taken to restore them, but I hope I brushed the surface on some of the things you researched yourself. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and I look forward to hearing about your projects. See you soon!